The youngest princess was overlooked by all alien suitors until a human arrived. Unlike her older sisters, who were admired for their beauty, charm, and grace, Lyra had always been overlooked. She did not care much for dancing at court or wearing gowns stitched with precious gems. Instead, she loved exploring the palace, studying ancient star maps, and tinkering with old devices left from explorers who had traveled the galaxy centuries ago. The Andari cluster was a magnificent realm of sparkling cities, floating gardens, and endless skies filled with stars. Each sister had her role in maintaining the family's status across the galaxy. Princess Mara, the eldest, was admired for her elegance and political skill. Princess Sela, second in line, had charm that could sway any ambassador. Princess Kira, third, was known for her intelligence and skill in science. And Princess Nira, fourth, had a voice so pure it could calm storms and delight even the most distant planets. And then there was Lyra, the youngest. She was quiet, thoughtful, and often lost in her own world of curiosity. She preferred the palace observatory to the grand ballroom, and the whisper of ancient star maps to the chatter of court gossip. Many guests at the palace barely noticed her, and some even assumed she lacked interest in anything important. The alien suitors, who arrived every year to seek a princess for marriage or alliances, ignored her entirely. They bowed, smiled politely, and left, speaking only to her older sisters. Lyra was used to it. She had long ago accepted that her place was different, and that was fine with her. She often said to herself, "Perhaps my path is not to be seen, but to discover." On the evening of the annual Galactic Court Festival, the palace shimmered with lights and music. Aliens from dozens of star systems arrived in elegant ships, bringing gifts, jewels, and exotic technologies. The halls echoed with laughter, speeches, and polite negotiations. Lyra watched from a quiet balcony, her hands resting on the railing, eyes tracing the stars. Her sisters were busy with suitors. Mara laughed with a dignitary from the Zephyrian system. Sela entertained a delegation from the Orion Nebula. Kira discussed quantum inventions with a group of scientists, and Nira performed a melody that floated through the grand hall like a gentle breeze. Lyra felt a pang of loneliness but quickly shook it off. She had her maps, her experiments, and her curiosity, and that was enough. Just as she turned to leave, she noticed something unusual. A small ship, unlike any she had seen before, hovered silently above the palace courtyard. Its design was simple, almost humble, and it glowed with a soft blue light. The other guests barely paid attention, assuming it was a minor diplomatic envoy or a routine delivery. But Lyra felt her heart skip. Something about the ship was different. Moments later, a human stepped out. Lyra had read about humans in her studies, but she had never met one. Humans were rare in the Andari cluster and were often considered primitive, limited by their slower technologies and shorter lifespans. Yet, as she watched the human move, she noticed something remarkable. He carried himself with confidence and curiosity, not arrogance. His eyes sparkled with interest as he scanned the palace, and his smile was polite and friendly. The human approached the palace gates. Guards stepped forward, ready to question him, but the princess stepped down from her balcony to meet him first. "Welcome to the Andari cluster," Lyra said, her voice calm but curious. "I am Princess Lyra." The human bowed politely, a gesture he had likely learned from observing alien customs. "I am Joran from Earth," he said. His accent was soft, and his words carried an unfamiliar warmth. "I come seeking knowledge and friendship." Lyra smiled. Most aliens would have been flustered, confused, or dismissive of such simple words, but she felt a spark of interest. Here was someone who did not seek to impress with gifts, titles, or power. He wanted to learn. The court noticed the interaction immediately. Some whispers started, "A human, here, among royalty. And why is the youngest princess speaking to him?" But Lyra ignored them. She was curious, and curiosity had always guided her. She led Joran to a quieter area of the palace, away from the glittering halls and the polite but superficial conversations. There, in the observatory, she showed him her star maps. She explained constellations, ancient explorers, and the hidden pathways between galaxies. Joran listened intently, asking questions and offering perspectives she had never considered. "You think differently," Lyra said after a while. "Most beings I meet are concerned with status, power, or appearances. You see things differently," Joran smiled. "I suppose Earth teaches us to look at possibilities, not just rules, to imagine what could be rather than only what must be." Lyra nodded. She felt a strange excitement. For the first time in her life, someone was not impressed by her rank, her family, or her appearance. Instead, he valued her mind, her curiosity, and her thoughts. As the night went on, they walked through the palace gardens. Bioluminescent plants glowed in soft colors, and the fountain sang gentle melodies as water danced in the air. Lyra showed Joran hidden pathways, secret libraries, and even a small workshop where she tinkered with alien devices. Joran admired her inventions, asking questions and offering suggestions. Meanwhile, the older sisters noticed the human as well. Mara frowned, whispering to Sela, "Who is he and why does Lyra speak with him?" Sela shrugged. "He is just a human. Surely he cannot match our alliances or connections." Kira, ever analytical, glanced at the two and said, "He seems curious. That is unusual. Perhaps he will surprise us." Nira, lost in thought after her performance, merely smiled softly. "The youngest always finds her own way," she murmured. Lyra and Joran sat on a quiet bench, gazing at the stars above. She felt a strange sense of anticipation, as though meeting him was the beginning of something she had been waiting for her whole life but did not know existed. "Have you traveled far?" Lyra asked. "Yes," Joran replied. "From a small planet called Earth. Our technology is simple compared to yours, but we make up for it with creativity and determination." Lyra laughed softly. "That sounds familiar. I have always thought creativity matters more than elegance or status." They continued talking until the festival's end, sharing stories of their worlds, their dreams, and the wonders they hoped to explore. The other guests left, some skeptical, some amused, but Lyra felt something she had never felt before, a connection not based on expectation but on understanding. As the night drew to a close, Joran looked at Lyra with respect. "I hope I can learn more from you. There is so much I have yet to see." Lyra smiled, her heart light. "And I hope you are ready. There are places even my sisters have never seen." For the first time, Lyra realized that being overlooked had its advantages. She had the freedom to explore, to think, and to act without pressure or expectation. And now, with a human by her side, perhaps she would discover more than she had ever imagined, not just about the universe, but about herself. The stars above the Andari cluster seemed brighter that night, as if welcoming a new chapter. A chapter where the youngest princess, long ignored by all, might finally find her place, and perhaps change the galaxy in the process. Little did Lyra know, this human visitor would challenge everything the Andari believed about strength, courage, and intelligence. And in doing so, he would prove that humans, though rare in the galaxy, could achieve greatness beyond imagination. And so, under the sparkling sky, with the gentle hum of the palace around them, the overlooked princess and the curious human began the first steps of a journey that neither could have predicted. A journey of discovery, friendship, and the start of something extraordinary. The next morning, the Andari palace was buzzing with excitement, though most of the chatter ignored the quiet princess who preferred her own company. The alien suitors, arriving in polished ships from distant star systems, spoke only to her older sisters. They presented sparkling gifts, jewels, and exotic devices, yet none paused for Lyra. Lyra, however, was already up before dawn, wandering through the palace gardens. The gardens were extraordinary, filled with plants that glowed softly in the morning light, and trees whose branches seemed to hum when the wind passed through them. Lyra found peace here, away from the endless expectations of the royal court. As she strolled along a pathway lined with luminous flowers, she noticed the human small ship resting in the courtyard. The craft was simple in design, almost modest compared to the grand, jewel-encrusted vessels of the alien envoys. Lyra felt a curious excitement. Humans were rare in the Andari cluster, and she had read almost nothing about their habits, their thoughts, or their ways. Joran stepped out of the ship, carrying a small pack of supplies. He looked around in awe at the towering palace, the floating gardens, and the sparkling fountains. Unlike most aliens, he did not seem overwhelmed or intimidated. Instead, he moved with careful attention, noticing details that most others would overlook. The intricate patterns of light on the palace walls, the gentle rhythm of the fountain water, and the subtle changes in the colors of the bioluminescent flowers. Lyra approached him cautiously, smiling softly. "Good morning. I hope your journey was comfortable." Joran turned, his human eyes bright with curiosity. "It was different from anything I expected. Your world is beautiful." "You have only just arrived," Lyra said with a soft laugh. "And already you speak as if you have been here 100 times. Most visitors are focused on titles and gifts." Joran shook his head. "Titles do not teach. Gifts do not explain. I want to see, to learn, to understand. That is why I came." Lyra felt an instant connection. She realized that Joran was different from every alien she had met. He did not seek to impress or manipulate. He did not judge by appearances. He simply wanted to explore, to discover, and to understand. The palace staff quickly gathered around, curious about the human who had arrived so boldly. Some whispered nervously. Others stared in awe, noting the rarity of a human visiting the Andari cluster. But Lyra ignored the murmurs. She had found someone worth her attention. "I can show you the palace," she said. "There are many things that even my sisters have never seen." Joran's eyes widened. "I would be honored." Together they walked through the halls. Lyra led him past the grand chambers of her sisters, past the great dining halls, and into quieter areas few visitors ever saw. She showed him the libraries filled with ancient texts from planets no one had visited in centuries, the workshops where inventors had left unfinished machines, and the observatory, where the stars were charted with meticulous care. Joran was amazed. He moved with careful attention, touching the edges of star maps and looking at ancient devices as if they were treasures. "These are incredible," he said. "You must have spent years studying them." Lyra nodded. "I have. Most of my sisters are focused on appearances and alliances. I prefer to study, to understand the universe and its mysteries." As they moved through the palace, Lyra noticed that Joran asked questions that no alien had ever asked her. He wanted to know how things worked, why they existed, and what they meant for the future. His curiosity was not superficial. It was deep, thoughtful, and sincere. At the observatory, Lyra showed him a set of ancient star maps that traced routes between distant systems. Some paths were no longer used, and some led to mysterious locations that were largely forgotten. "Have you ever been beyond these paths?" Joran asked, pointing at a map that showed a trail leading into uncharted space. Lyra shook her head. "No one has for generations. The older explorers said it was too dangerous, but I have always wondered what lies beyond. Perhaps one day I will find out." Joran smiled. "Then maybe we should go together." Lyra blinked. The idea was sudden, thrilling, and terrifying all at once. "Together?" she asked. "Yes," he said simply. "I want to learn, and I think we can learn together. Your knowledge, combined with my experience on Earth, might allow us to explore places no one else can reach." Lyra felt her heart quicken. The thought of venturing into the unknown, not as a princess following court rules, but as an explorer, was more exciting than she had ever imagined. "I will consider it," she said, smiling. Over the next few hours, Lyra guided Joran through the palace gardens and secret corridors, teaching him about Andari customs and showing him her favorite hidden spots. He listened carefully, asked intelligent questions, and offered suggestions. He noticed patterns, ideas, and solutions that even Lyra had not considered. By midday, the palace court began to stir again with activity. Delegates from distant systems had arrived, and the alien suitors were once more focused on impressing the royal family. Lyra's sisters took little notice of her and Joran, assuming the human would leave or fail to impress. But Lyra did not care. For the first time, she felt she had found a companion who valued her mind, her curiosity, and her abilities. As the day continued, Lyra and Joran discovered an ancient library tucked behind a hidden door. The library contained scrolls, star charts, and old mechanical devices from explorers long gone. Lyra's eyes lit up as she opened a dusty book filled with maps of lost planets and mysterious galaxies. Some of these places are thought to be legends, Lyra explained, but I believe they exist. Perhaps one day someone will find them. Joran leaned closer, examining the maps. And perhaps we can be those people, he said, his voice full of quiet determination. Lyra felt a thrill of excitement. She had always dreamed of adventure, but she had never imagined it would begin with someone like Joran, a human from a distant, unknown planet. Together, they could explore places no one else dared to go. As they studied the maps, Lyra realized something important. She had been overlooked by the galaxy not because she lacked skill or intelligence, but because she had always been quiet, thoughtful, and willing to work behind the scenes. Her sisters were admired for charm, beauty, and diplomacy. But Lyra's true strength lay in curiosity, creativity, and courage, qualities Joran clearly recognized and appreciated. The afternoon passed quickly. They explored hidden corridors, examined star charts, and discussed the possibilities of traveling to unknown planets. Lyra felt more alive than ever before. By evening, the palace lights glimmered across the gardens, casting long shadows. Joran and Lyra stood near a fountain, the water glowing softly in the light of distant stars. "Do you think it is possible?" Joran asked. "To travel beyond the known routes and find these lost places?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but it will not be easy. There are risks, and many others would say it is impossible. But I want to try," Joran smiled. "Then we will try together. Two minds are better than one. And humans have a way of finding solutions where others see only problems." Lyra laughed softly. "Perhaps. And Andari have a way of seeing possibilities that humans might overlook." As the night grew darker, Lyra and Joran continued their discussions. They planned, imagined, and dreamed. They spoke of distant planets, of uncharted galaxies, and of civilizations that might exist beyond anyone's knowledge. With every word, Lyra felt the excitement of discovery, the thrill of possibility, the joy of sharing ideas with someone who truly understood her. For the first time, Lyra did not feel overlooked. She felt recognized, not for her appearance, her title, or her status, but for her mind, her courage, and her curiosity. And the human at her side, Joran, shared that recognition and excitement. As the palace settled for the night, Lyra returned to her chamber, her mind buzzing with possibilities. She realized that her life was about to change. The overlooked princess, quiet and thoughtful, had found someone who saw her for who she truly was. And together they could explore the galaxy, uncover its secrets, and perhaps change the way the Andari and all beings saw humans and themselves. Before falling asleep, Lyra looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere among them lay the lost planets, the hidden civilizations, and the mysteries she had dreamed of for so long. And now, for the first time, she would not face them alone. Joran's arrival had not just brought curiosity, it had brought possibility, adventure, and friendship. And Lyra felt ready to take the first step into the unknown, confident that the overlooked princess might soon become a legend across the stars. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the Andari palace as Princess Lyra moved through the corridors with a sense of purpose she had never felt before. She was no longer merely the youngest princess, overlooked by all. She was someone with a goal that could take her beyond the familiar stars. And beside her, as always, walked Joran, the human from Earth whose curiosity and courage matched her own. After days of exploring hidden sections of the palace, examining star maps, and studying ancient texts, Lyra had discovered something extraordinary. In a dusty, forgotten library tucked behind the palace's northern wing, she had found a set of ancient star charts pointing to a lost planet known as Orales Prime. According to the maps, Orales Prime had once been home to a thriving civilization, filled with knowledge, art, and technology that had been lost to time. Most Andari scholars dismissed the planet as a legend, believing it was merely a myth from explorers long dead. But Lyra had a different intuition. Something about the maps felt real. The symbols were precise, the measurements accurate, and the descriptions detailed enough to suggest that the planet truly existed somewhere beyond the known galaxy. "Joran, look at this," Lyra said, pointing to a map glowing softly under the observatory lights. "It's Orales Prime. No one has seen it for centuries. The older explorers assumed it vanished, but I think we can find it." Joran leaned closer, his eyes shining with excitement. "This is incredible," he said. "If the planet exists, it could have technologies and knowledge we've never imagined. And no one has been there in generations," Lyra nodded. "Exactly, but we have to be careful. Traveling beyond the known star routes is dangerous. There are nebulous storms, gravitational anomalies, and unpredictable creatures. Many explorers said it was impossible." Joran smiled. "Impossible doesn't scare humans. It only makes us think harder. Together, we can figure it out." The palace was full of life as Lyra and Joran prepared for their secret expedition. They quietly gathered supplies from the hidden workshops, navigation devices, portable energy sources, and communication tools. Lyra examined every item carefully, ensuring it could withstand the unpredictable conditions of deep space. Joran added some of his own tools from Earth, compact gadgets designed for flexibility and problem-solving. While they worked, the older sisters remained occupied with the alien Suitors, unaware of the preparations. Mara was in constant meetings, negotiating alliances. Sela entertained diplomats with charm and elegance. Kiera was analyzing new technologies brought by visiting scientists. Neera was performing melodious concerts that echoed through the palace halls. Lyra's activities were unnoticed, and she preferred it that way. Freedom, after all, was easier when no one was watching. As the preparations continued, Lyra and Joran discussed strategies and plans. They analyzed star maps, traced potential routes, and studied reports of gravitational anomalies. Lyra shared every detail she had learned from the palace archives, and Joran contributed ideas based on his Earth experience. "According to this chart," Lyra said, pointing to a narrow path on the map, "there's a route through the Tempest Nebula. It's risky, but it's the fastest way to reach Orales Prime." Joran frowned slightly. "Risky how?" "The nebula has fluctuating gravitational fields," Lyra explained, "and unpredictable plasma storms can interfere with navigation systems. But if we time it right and adjust the ship's shields, it could be safe enough." Joran nodded. "Then we'll need careful calculations, but I like a challenge." Over the next few days, Lyra and Joran worked tirelessly, often late into the night. They tested devices, practiced simulations, and created contingency plans. Their collaboration was seamless. Joran's human creativity complemented Lyra's detailed knowledge of Andari science. Each solved problems that the other had overlooked, and each discovered new ways to approach challenges. Despite the excitement, not everyone in the palace was pleased. Some palace staff had noticed Lyra's frequent excursions and whispered about the human's influence. Certain envoys murmured disapprovingly, claiming that humans were primitive and unfit to be near royal affairs. But Lyra ignored them. She had found someone who respected her abilities and shared her curiosity. Their mission was important, and their partnership mattered more than the opinions of others. One evening, as the twin moons of Andari cluster rose in the sky, Lyra and Joran examined a particularly challenging section of the star charts. The coordinates led to an area of space filled with a network of asteroid fields, energy streams, and magnetic turbulence. It was called the Silent Expanse, and it had claimed many explorers who dared to enter. "This route is dangerous," Lyra said softly. "Even with our preparations, we must be careful. One mistake and we could be lost forever." Joran placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll handle it together. Humans are not as strong as some aliens, perhaps, but we're clever and persistent. And you, Lyra, are brilliant. I've never met anyone like you." Lyra smiled, feeling warmth and confidence. For so long she had been overlooked, dismissed as quiet and unremarkable. But here, with someone who truly appreciated her mind and her abilities, she felt valued for the first time. The next morning, the human and the princess began small trial runs. They used a small shuttle to navigate through nearby asteroid belts, testing their coordination and equipment. Lyra directed the shields and navigation systems, while Joran monitored energy levels and proposed alternative routes when unexpected obstacles appeared. Their first trial was a success, though not without challenges. Small collisions with floating debris reminded them of the dangers that lay ahead. Still, their teamwork proved effective. Each challenge strengthened their confidence and deepened their bond. During a quiet moment after a particularly difficult maneuver, Lyra looked at Joran. "I never imagined someone like you would exist. You see possibilities where others see danger, and you trust me to make decisions." Joran smiled. "And I never imagined I would find someone like you. A princess, yes, but also a thinker, an explorer, someone brave enough to seek what others ignore. You've been overlooked by so many, Lyra, but not by me." Lyra's heart swelled with pride and gratitude. Here was someone who believed in her. Someone who could turn her dreams into reality. And for the first time, she felt that being the youngest, the overlooked princess, was not a weakness but a gift. As the days passed, they expanded their trial runs further into space. They encountered small asteroid clusters, strange energy fields, and minor gravitational anomalies. Each challenge taught them something new. Joran learned to anticipate Andari technology's quirks, while Lyra gained confidence in improvising solutions rather than relying solely on manuals and maps. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, they returned to the palace with renewed excitement. Lyra gazed at the stars above and felt a sense of anticipation she had never known. Somewhere among the constellations lay Orales Prime, waiting to be discovered, and they would find it together. But the universe had a way of testing even the most careful explorers. As they reviewed their star charts, Lyra noticed an anomaly, a section of space that was not marked on any map she had studied. The anomaly appeared as a dark ripple across the stars, as if something was absorbing light itself. "What is that?" Joran asked, leaning over the charts. "I don't know," Lyra admitted. "I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't in the archives or the explorer logs. It could be a natural phenomenon or something more." Joran's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Then we have a mystery to solve. Humans love a good puzzle." Lyra laughed softly. "Yes, we do, but we must be careful. Whatever it is, it could be dangerous." Over the next several days, they studied the anomaly, cross-referencing data from ancient explorers, Andari sensors, and Joran's own Earth instruments. They hypothesized that it might be a gravitational distortion caused by an unseen planet or a previously unknown energy field. Either way, They knew that their journey to Orales Prime would involve navigating this anomaly. Lyra felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The challenge was greater than anything she had faced, yet she also realized that her skills, combined with Joran's ingenuity, gave them a real chance of success. They were no longer just the overlooked princess and the curious human. They were explorers ready to face the unknown together. As Part 3 closes, Lyra and Joran finalize their preparations. They pack their shuttle with supplies, study their star maps one final time, and mentally prepare for the challenges ahead. The lost planet, the silent expanse, and the mysterious anomaly all awaited them. Lyra, once overlooked by all alien suitors, now held the excitement of discovery in her hands. And beside her, Joran, the human who had arrived quietly but boldly, was ready to face the universe together with her. Adventure, mystery, and discovery were just beginning. The small shuttle shivered as it lifted from the palace courtyard, the glow of Andari City fading behind them. Princess Lyra and Joran, seated side by side, felt a rush of excitement and anticipation. This was the moment they had prepared for, the first step into the unknown. Beyond the safety of the Andari cluster lay uncharted space, the lost planet Orales Prime, and challenges no one had faced in generations. Lyra monitored the navigation systems, her hands steady despite her excitement. Joran adjusted the energy shields, checking the power levels, and occasionally glancing at Lyra to make sure she was comfortable. Together, they formed a rhythm that only two explorers could, each action complementing the other's expertise. "The first stretch of the journey is simple," Lyra said, pointing at the star map displayed on the shuttle's holographic screen. "We are leaving the known routes, but it is clear for now. After this, we enter the silent expanse." Joran nodded. "I've read about it in your archives. Asteroid clusters, energy streams, gravitational distortions. Sounds fun." Lyra laughed softly. "Fun, yes, if you enjoy solving life-or-death puzzles." As they traveled further from the Andari cluster, the stars seemed to change. Familiar constellations faded, replaced by strange clusters and unfamiliar nebulae. The shuttle's instruments began to pick up faint energy readings, signals from objects that had never been mapped before. "This is incredible," Joran whispered. "We are seeing things no one else has seen in centuries." Lyra smiled. "And we are the first to navigate them together. Carefully, of course. We must respect what we do not yet understand." Hours passed as they navigated small asteroid fields, their shuttle weaving between rocks with precision. Lyra adjusted the shields, keeping the craft safe, while Joran recalculated energy flow to conserve power for the long journey. They spoke little, focusing on the work, but the occasional smile or shared glance spoke volumes about their trust in each other. Their first major challenge came sooner than expected. A massive energy storm stretched across their path, glowing in colors neither had seen before. The storm pulsed with waves of energy that threatened to disrupt the shuttle's systems. "Hold on," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "We need to pass through the center where the energy is weaker. Joran, adjust the shields to maximum absorption." Joran worked quickly, tapping on controls and monitoring the instruments. "Energy flux is rising. We can do this if we remain steady." With careful navigation, they guided the shuttle through the storm, the shimmering colors of plasma swirling around them. The lights reflected in Lyra's eyes, and Joran felt the thrill of facing the unknown without fear. When they emerged on the other side, the shuttle hummed smoothly, systems intact. "We did it," Lyra said, a mixture of relief and excitement in her voice. "The storm couldn't stop us." Joran grinned. Humans and Andari unstoppable together. As they continued, the space around them grew quiet. The silent expanse stretched endlessly, filled with floating rocks, distant lights, and strange gravitational anomalies. Their instruments occasionally flickered, but Lyra and Joran navigated carefully, using a combination of maps, sensors, and intuition. Look, Lyra said suddenly, pointing toward a shimmering object ahead. It appears to be a crystal formation floating in space. I have never seen anything like it. Joran adjusted the shuttle's view. The object glowed with a soft internal light, refracting the surrounding starlight in dazzling patterns. It's beautiful, he said softly, almost alive. They approached slowly, careful not to disturb the structure. Lyra noted that the crystal emitted faint energy signals, unlike anything recorded in the Andari archives. Perhaps a natural phenomenon or something created by an ancient civilization, she speculated. Joran nodded, eyes wide with wonder. Either way, it is incredible. Imagine what other wonders await on Orales Prime. Their journey was not without moments of quiet reflection. During long stretches of calm, they spoke of their lives before the journey. Lyra shared stories of her sisters, the palace, and her love for studying star maps. Joran talked about Earth, the different cultures he had studied, and his desire to learn from every corner of the galaxy. You know, Lyra said, staring at the stars, being overlooked by my sisters and the court has its advantages. I have been free to explore, to think, and to dream. Perhaps I would not have discovered this planet if I had been admired like the others. Joran smiled. Sometimes, being underestimated allows us to surprise the world. You've always been capable, Lyra. I'm just glad to witness it firsthand. As they approached a dense cluster of gravitational anomalies, their instruments began to flicker unpredictably. The shuttle shivered and warning lights blinked across the control panels. Lyra's hands moved swiftly, recalibrating sensors and adjusting thrusters to stabilize their course. This is tricky, she admitted. The anomalies are stronger than anticipated. We must move slowly and carefully. Joran assisted, analyzing energy flows and suggesting alternative routes. Together, they guided the shuttle through the anomalies, their coordination flawless. Each obstacle strengthened their confidence, showing them that even in the vast unknown, teamwork and intelligence could overcome challenges. After hours of careful navigation, they finally emerged from the anomalies. Before them lay a region of calm space, bathed in soft light from a nearby nebula. And at the center of this region, faint but unmistakable, were the coordinates they had sought for so long, Orales Prime. Lyra's eyes widened. We found it, she whispered, a mixture of disbelief and joy in her voice. Orales Prime is real. Joran leaned closer to the view screen. The planet was stunning, with oceans that glimmered like liquid crystal and continents dotted with strange, luminous forests. Massive structures, perhaps remnants of the ancient civilization, rose from the landscape, their designs unlike anything in the Andari cluster or Earth. It's more beautiful than I imagined, Joran said softly, and no one has been here in centuries. Lyra felt a thrill of accomplishment. The overlooked princess had discovered what no one else had, and she had done it with someone who respected her mind, her courage, and her abilities. They began to descend, carefully navigating through the planet's upper atmosphere. Strange energy patterns surrounded the world, interacting with the shuttle's shields and requiring constant attention. But Lyra's knowledge of alien physics and Joran's ingenuity made the descent smooth. Finally, the shuttle touched down on a soft, glowing surface. Lyra opened the cockpit doors, stepping onto the planet with a mixture of awe and excitement. Joran followed, his eyes scanning the alien landscape in wonder. The air was breathable, though tinged with a faint luminescent glow. Towering trees, crystalline formations, and softly glowing rivers stretched in every direction. The remnants of ancient structures, partially covered by vegetation, hinted at a civilization that had once flourished here. This is incredible, Lyra said, her voice full of wonder. We have truly found something no one else has seen in centuries. Joran smiled, looking around with admiration. And to think we did it together, humans and Andari exploring the unknown. As they ventured further, they discovered signs of life. small, glowing creatures that moved gracefully among the crystal formations, and plants that responded to their presence with soft pulses of light. Everything on the planet seemed alive in a way that was both beautiful and mysterious. "This planet has its own rhythm, its own life," Lyra said softly. "We must respect it, study it carefully, and learn what we can without disturbing it." Joran nodded. "Agreed. We are explorers, not conquerors. Every discovery should honor the planet and its history." Hours passed as they documented their findings, taking careful notes and analyzing the strange structures. They found artifacts of a civilization that had clearly been advanced, with technologies that integrated seamlessly with nature. The more they explored, the more they realized the planet held knowledge and secrets beyond anything in the Andari archives or Earth records. As the first night fell on Orales Prime, Lyra and Joran set up a small camp near one of the ancient structures. They watched the twin moons rise over the glowing landscape, the creatures of the planet moving silently in the distance. "This is only the beginning," Lyra said, her voice full of determination. "Tomorrow we explore deeper. There is so much to learn." Joran smiled, looking at the stars above. "And I cannot imagine a better companion for this journey. You've shown courage, intelligence, and creativity at every turn. The galaxy is lucky to have you." Lyra felt a deep sense of pride. For so long, she had been overlooked by alien suitors and court officials. But here, on a distant, lost planet, she had found recognition, not for her beauty or title, but for her mind, her curiosity, and her courage. And Joran, the human from a small, distant world, had proven that humans could face the galaxy's unknown and succeed. Together, they had overcome challenges, discovered wonders, and taken the first steps into a new era of exploration. As they settled in for the night, the glowing landscape of Orales Prime stretching around them, Lyra knew one thing with certainty: the adventure had only just begun. The lost planet held secrets, challenges, and mysteries that would test them in ways they could not yet imagine. But with courage, intelligence, and trust in each other, they were ready. The youngest princess, once overlooked, was now a pioneer, and the human who had arrived quietly but boldly had become her partner in discovering the galaxy's hidden wonders. Together, they had crossed the boundary between legend and reality, and nothing would ever be the same again. The first rays of light on Orales Prime shimmered over the glowing forests and crystalline rivers, casting a rainbow of colors across the landscape. Princess Lyra and Joran stood near their small camp, looking out over the alien world with awe. The planet seemed alive, humming with energy that neither had ever experienced. Lyra adjusted her data scanner, carefully recording the soft pulses of light emitted by the crystalline trees. Joran examined a curious floating orb of energy, gently testing its reactions. The planet was full of wonders, many of which challenged even Lyra's vast knowledge of the galaxy. "We must document everything carefully," Lyra said. "If we disturb this place, we could lose knowledge that no one else has ever seen." Joran nodded, carefully taking notes and marking observations on his portable console. "It's incredible. Every plant, every creature, even the energy itself seems connected. This is more advanced than anything humans or Andari have encountered." They began their exploration in earnest. Following the faint pathways of energy and light, they discovered structures partially hidden by glowing forests. The architecture was elegant, functional, and beautiful, blending naturally with the planet. The designs suggested that the inhabitants had mastered harmony between technology and nature, a civilization far beyond most known systems. "This is extraordinary," Lyra whispered. "Their knowledge, it's unlike anything in the Andari archives. They must have understood the universe in ways we cannot yet imagine." Joran looked over her shoulder, "and they left clues for those who could find them. Perhaps they trusted explorers, or perhaps they wanted their world to be discovered only by those who were careful and patient." Lyra smiled. I think that means we were meant to be here, together. As they ventured deeper, they discovered the remains of devices that seemed capable of drawing energy from the planet itself. Lyra carefully studied the mechanisms, noting how they maintained harmony with the environment rather than harming it. Joran tested the devices, his human ingenuity helping him understand principles that Lyra had never considered. This device could generate energy indefinitely, Joran said, excitement in his voice. And it doesn't harm the planet. Incredible, Lyra nodded. This could change how our galaxy thinks about energy. It's sustainable, balanced, and intelligent. Whoever lived here was truly remarkable. The day passed quickly as they explored the ruins. They discovered small glowing creatures, plants with responsive movements, and rivers that hummed with soft energy. Every discovery strengthened their understanding of the planet and its past civilization. By evening, Lyra and Joran had mapped large sections of the lost city, documented unusual energy patterns, and theorized about the technology of the ancient inhabitants. They were exhausted but exhilarated. The planet had offered its secrets cautiously, rewarding their patience and respect. That was incredible, Joran said as they set up camp near a crystalline lake. We have seen wonders that no one else in the galaxy has ever seen. Lyra smiled, looking out over the glowing waters. And we did it together. I've never felt more alive, more capable. This is the adventure I dreamed of my whole life. That night, they discussed their plans for returning home. They had discovered incredible knowledge, and it was important to share it responsibly with the Andari and other civilizations. But they also agreed that some secrets should remain protected until they fully understood them. We cannot rush to tell everyone, Lyra said. If this knowledge falls into the wrong hands, it could be misused. We must study it carefully first. Joran nodded. I agree, but the knowledge itself and the experience we've gained, it's priceless. Over the next several days, they continued exploring, venturing into areas of Orales Prime untouched even by ancient explorers. They observed ecosystems in perfect balance, learned principles of energy manipulation, and discovered clues about the civilization that once thrived there. One evening, while resting near a field of glowing plants, Lyra reflected on how far they had come. Once overlooked by all alien suitors, she now stood as an explorer in a lost world. Her knowledge, courage, and patience had brought her here, and Joran, the human who had arrived quietly, had proven that humans could face the galaxy's unknown and succeed. This journey has changed me, she said softly. I no longer feel overlooked. I feel recognized, not for my title but for who I am. Joran smiled. You've always been capable, Lyra. You just needed someone to see it. I'm glad I was that someone. Finally, the day came to return to the Andari cluster. They packed their findings, double-checked their shuttle, and took one last look at the glowing world of Orales Prime. The planet had tested them, challenged them, and rewarded their patience. And it had given them knowledge that could benefit countless civilizations. As they traveled back, Lyra felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The court would surely be amazed, but she also wondered how her sisters and the alien suitors would react to the discoveries, and the fact that she had achieved them alongside a human. Upon returning to the palace, they were met with astonishment. Courtiers and visiting dignitaries could hardly believe the news. Princess Lyra had discovered Orales Prime, a planet thought lost for centuries, and she had done it with a human from Earth, a species considered primitive by many. Mara, Lyra's eldest sister, approached first. Lyra, you actually did it. This is extraordinary. Sela's eyes widened. With a human, I cannot believe it. Yet the evidence, it is undeniable. Kira studied their instruments and records. The technology, the maps, the energy systems. Lyra, you have uncovered knowledge that surpasses much of what we thought possible, and you did it responsibly. Nira, ever wise, smiled softly. The youngest often sees what others cannot. You have proven that true strength lies in patience, intelligence, and respect, and you have chosen a companion who shares those values." The alien suitors who had once ignored her now looked at Lyra with newfound respect. She was no longer merely a princess to be admired for her appearance or status. She was a pioneer, an explorer, and a visionary. And Joran, standing beside her, received recognition too. He had not only accompanied Lyra but had contributed ideas, problem-solving, and ingenuity that had been crucial to their success. The Andari and other civilizations began to see humans in a new light, not as primitive beings, but as capable, resourceful, and brave. The Galactic Council held a formal ceremony to celebrate their discoveries. Lyra presented detailed findings, explained the principles of the ancient technology, and shared insights about Orales Prime's ecosystem. Joran spoke as well, emphasizing the importance of curiosity, respect, and collaboration between species. The council members listened with awe. The knowledge they gained from Orales Prime could improve energy systems, environmental management, and exploration techniques across galaxies. And the collaboration between a human and an Andari princess became a symbol of unity, curiosity, and mutual respect. After the ceremony, Lyra and Joran walked through the palace gardens. The glowing plants reflected in the nearby fountains, and the stars above the Andari cluster twinkled like distant guides. "We did it," Lyra said, a soft smile on her lips. "We proved that humans and Andari can achieve great things together, and I proved that being overlooked doesn't mean being unimportant." Joran took her hand gently. "And you've shown the galaxy what courage, intelligence, and curiosity can accomplish. Together, we've changed how beings think about exploration and about each other." Lyra laughed softly, the sound light and free. "I never imagined that a human from Earth would change my life so completely." Joran smiled. "Nor did I imagine that a quiet, overlooked princess would teach me so much about courage and intelligence. But the universe works in wonderful ways." From that day forward, Princess Lyra was no longer overlooked. Her discoveries, courage, and partnership with Joran became a story told across the galaxy, a tale of friendship, exploration, and the extraordinary potential of humans and Andari working together. The youngest princess, once underestimated and dismissed, had become a pioneer. The human, once unknown and unremarkable to most, had become a symbol of ingenuity and bravery. Together, they had explored the unknown, uncovered ancient secrets, and inspired countless others to value curiosity, intelligence, and courage over appearances or status. As they looked at the stars, Lyra felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey was over for now, but the possibilities of the galaxy were endless. With Joran by her side, she knew that any challenge could be met, any mystery explored, and any dream pursued. And so, the youngest princess and the human explorer prepared for new adventures, their bond stronger than ever, their hearts full of curiosity, and their spirits ready to discover what lay beyond the next star. The galaxy, once vast and unknowable, now seemed filled with promise, and Lyra, overlooked no longer, was ready to embrace it all.